Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon. I'm the Dean of Graduate Research at Flinders University, and welcome to vlog 201, How to Write a PhD Abstract. This request comes from Bruce, and Bruce is very precious to me. He was one of the first students to contact me just as I started this job at Flinders, so he's very precious to me. A dear friend, a great person, and is completing his PhD part-time and is just about to finish. And so Bruce, the wonderful, extraordinary Bruce, who's given me so many options and ideas and fabulous strategies for higher degrees at Flinders University, he asked me to deliver this vlog on the PhD abstract. And as always, Bruce, it's my pleasure to do so, and respect to your wonderful, extraordinary family. But can I say, it may seem odd to you that something that's so important to the PhD has taken me to vlog 201 to get here. And there is a reason. Completing a vlog for you on the PhD abstract has really frightened me. Frightened me? Yeah, let me explain. Now, we've done an early series of vlogs, very early on I think, on journal writing, so academic refereed journal writing, and how you configure a title, the abstract, your biography and so forth. So the abstract was very much part of that. But the journal abstract and the PhD abstract are two very, very different things. And the noun abstract sort of suggests they've got a relationship, but actually the mitigating adjective is really important, and to be frank, changes just about everything. So if you think a PhD abstract is like a journal abstract, you would be wrong. And there's not a huge amount of a relationship, to be frank, between a journal abstract and a PhD abstract. And to make matters even worse, there's a huge amount of disagreement between examiners about what are the characteristics of a PhD abstract. So there's no agreed shape, there's no agreed genre. And the last thing I ever do in these vlogs is to offer you incorrect advice. It's better that I'm silent rather than give you incorrect advice. And I do need to log right at the start that examiners do very strange things. And they think very strange things. I read hundreds, it's probably now in the thousands, I read thousands of PhD examination reports. And the truly bizarre and divergent commentaries that I read through those examiner reports would chill your soul. So if examiners cannot agree on what constitutes a PhD abstract, then what chance have our students got? Okay, and just to give you a sense of some of the outlier, truly bonkers commentary I've seen about an abstract. This has only happened once in each case, but let me do the outliers. We've had an examiner that said, why is this PhD abstract not 50 words? Why is an abstract longer than 50 words? And then on the other extreme, unbelievably, one examiner, only one, said that a PhD abstract should be 5,000 words. So why is this particular abstract so short? It was 1,000 words. So we've got 50 words, 5,000 words. Aren't we doing well? So therefore, that's why I've been a bit reticent to configure a vlog on this topic, because it's so bizarrely constituted in terms of the literature. Now, as you know, I describe PhD examination as a dark art. It is a form of wizardry, and of course, wizards don't share their secrets until you see them in an examination report. So, in our heads, those of us as examiners, in our heads, we think we know what's going on, and we think that everybody agrees with us. We don't actually test that with any data sets whatsoever. Of course, if you're in an oral examination for a PhD, your weird narrative is actually tested in real time with another. So often oral exams are mitigating their andragogical professional development strategies for examiners. They learn on the job, but of course in some systems like the Australian system, when you don't have an oral exam, the examiner has no mitigation, no way of seeing how bonkers the narrative in their head actually is. But finally, Bruce has pushed me. And good on you, Bruce. I needed to go here on what is and how to write a PhD abstract. So I went pretty deeply into the data. So the data set that I have deployed, I've looked at regulations about PhD abstracts around the world, particularly focusing on the universities with very prescriptive attributes about this is what an abstract is. We see this particularly in Canada and North America. Saw some fantastic material, particularly at Simon Fraser University. That's been very helpful. So I've looked internationally at what is a PhD abstract in the regulations. But then I've also looked at PhD supervisor blogs, which has also been incredibly instructive. And then this other fascinating third data source, I didn't know it would be as useful, but wow, it has been. I've looked at the blogs from PhD editors, PhD proofreaders. So from this very unusual combination of source material, I'm now confident that I can present my Tara's 10 tips. I can present 10 strategies for you that are normative internationally. Let's do this. So what I'm stressing here is this is what most examiners want in an abstract most of the time. Or at least I suppose they agree these would be useful characteristics. We will always have the examiners who have dropped a tab of brown acid and decide to overshare their particular journey and vision, and we wish them well with that. But let's focus on the normative parameters here to help you. So let's go with what I'm calling the 10 genre-based frames to consider how you write that abstract and make it operate in your PhD. Let's do this, boom, let's go for it. Tip 1, don't bury the lead. Don't bury the lead. Now I'll start with that old rule from journalism, and it certainly applies, wow, to a PhD abstract. Now in a great piece of journalism, in a great piece of writing, the first paragraph, indeed the first sentence, grabs you by the throat and drags you through a fascinating, provocative argument. So make sure that your first paragraph, you explain clearly why your thesis is amazing. What have you done that matters? So what does your research show? What does your research prove? What big question does it answer? And how does knowledge, how does your particular discipline change through your thesis? Basically, it's the old classy questions, the answer to the old classy questions I always provoke my students with. Why should I care? Why should I give a damn? Why should I give a damn? That's what you put in the first paragraph. Don't bury the lead. 2, include a sentence in your second paragraph that states, quote, my original contribution to knowledge is, end of quote. Try and make it the topic sentence of the second paragraph if you can. Do not make your examiner look for your original contribution to knowledge. Within the first 2 paragraphs of your abstract, state my original contribution to knowledge is. Be clear, be precise, and it means that your examiner relaxes into the examination read from paragraph 2, and you need your examiner relaxed. They know you've got an original contribution to knowledge, so they can tick that box on the form, right? Okay, that's secure. Now we can look for other attributes. And they can enjoy reading the research. So for our master's students, our research master's students, hi team, originality is not part of your criteria. You're not looking for an original contribution to knowledge, but examiners are looking for scope and scale. Have you accessed the important ideas in your field? Are you synthesizing it effectively? Have you missed stuff? So demonstrate scope and scale in your second paragraph. 3, crucial one, this error is made all the time. Extraordinary. It's really creeping into students' work in the last 3-4 years. 3, an abstract must be self-contained. As a piece of writing, the abstract must refer to itself. It must be internally consistent. It has to be self-standing. So why are you putting references in it? An abstract does not have a bibliography or a reference list. It is self-standing. People, examiners, should be able to read your abstract and understand your research. Bang, thanks for playing. Now obviously a PhD is, in a lot of modes, 100,000 words in length. But your abstract should tell interested parties the area of your research, the argument, its significance, your original contribution to knowledge. That's the deal. Don't refer out to your thesis. Don't refer out. Keep the abstract self-contained. Now that's important for examiners. It's also important for indexing. Your thesis will have an international open access release, which is brilliant. Now you want people to read it. You want people to cite it. So explain in the abstract, which will travel far ahead of your PhD, what you're doing, why it matters, why someone should read it. The abstract is self-contained. 4, make the abstract, I know I'm going to put pressure on you, but I'm going to do it. 4, make the abstract the best writing of your thesis. If it helps you, your abstract is the advertising campaign for your thesis. You have to present your best self and explain why this research is revelatory. So if it helps, just to give you a sort of sideways view of this, the abstract in many ways is the marketing campaign for your thesis. Why should I care? Why should I care? Why should I spend the next 2 or 3 days of my life working with your research? So explain why reading this thesis is worthwhile. Demonstrate its value by powerful, evocative, exciting, engaging language. So in many ways, the abstract is a spruik, to use a great Australian word. It's a hook. It's an advertising campaign for your thesis. That might help you with the tone. 5, how do we get this writing really good? Right, so number 5, this is important. I differ from the literature on this. Write your abstract on the way through as you are writing your thesis. Yes, it will be the last piece of work that you write in the thesis, but write it all the way through. Now, there is controversy and dissidence in the literature about when you write your abstract. And most of the advice that I've read when I've been preparing for this vlog is correct. It says, right, well, this is the last piece of work that you write. And that is true. But, and this is a huge but, it puts an incredible amount of pressure on you, right? So you're tired, you've just written 100,000 words, and you stumble, exhausted, not even knowing your own name, to writing your abstract. So what I advise to sort of reduce the stress on yourself a little bit is as follows. I did this in my thesis when dinosaurs roamed the earth. I do this right now for major pieces of research, and I get all my students to do it all day, every day. Right. All the way through the candidature, when you write a fantastic sentence or a really ripper of a paragraph. You know, when you do that, you have one of those days where you go, that's what my thesis is on. You know those sentences? Whoa. Now, when you write one of those sentences, don't just leave it in situ in your PhD. What I want you to do for the great sentences and paragraphs is leave them there, but cut and paste them as well and park them in your abstract all the way through from week 1. If you write a great sentence, go, wow, yeah, boom, whack it in the abstract. Now, make sure you leave it in your original location too. But what this is doing is it prepares you for the big moment of the thesis. So by the time you're at the end, exhausted, tired and emotional, and you're writing that abstract, you've actually got a greatest hits record of all the fabulous bits of your thesis, like a spine, waiting for you in the abstract. So you're not staring at a blank screen with the word abstract and going, Nothing. I got nothing. You're starting with some material already present. And what happens, and this happens day after day after day, this is a problem, is students get themselves so incredibly worked up about the abstract that it's just a mess. So they're writing it when they're exhausted, and I can't tell you how often this happens to me. A great, brilliant student writes fantastic 100,000 words, comes to write the abstract, and it's a mess, it's a shambles. So they're ready to go, and then the abstract takes them a month, and I'm having to heavily edit the abstract because they've just lost the will to live. So all the way through, cut and paste those great sentences, park them in the abstract, and then when you're going, what's my name, what's this thesis about, you've got those sentences to guide you through the abstract writing. And I do the same with articles, by the way. So when I'm writing a journal article, I go, oh gee, that's a good sentence, ooh, crunchy, and I park it, and therefore that allows me to go, what was this article on? Ah, yeah, cool. 6. Some abstracts are paint by numbers in their construction. This is discipline dependent, and it does face some critique. But one model of writing an abstract that we see in the sciences and in some social sciences hits the following topics, often in this order. So, reasons for writing the thesis, problems addressed, methodology, results, implications. They're the 5 paragraphs. Now, I do believe that an abstract has to be a hell of a lot more than paint by numbers, which is what that is. But if you are stuck, then follow those headings for the first draft. So if you're in that place, what's my name, here's a heading, what am I going to do with it? Then start with reasons for writing the thesis, problems addressed, methodology, results, implications. Start there, and you can draft it into something groovy. Okay, 7. Speaking of drafting and editing matters. I cannot convey to you how important the abstract is in a PhD. I can't over-egg this. When we as examiners go for a thesis, we look at the bibliography reference list, so I assess scope and scale by what you've read. Okay, then the next thing I do, next thing I do is I read your abstract. What's going on here? Has this person actually got a sense of the field? Then I read the intro, then I read the conclusion. Then I start the party and go through an order. So the abstract is the second bit of the thesis that we engage with. The abstract, if I use a real estate metaphor, the abstract is the equivalent of your front of house. So has your thesis got curb appeal? You know when you're like trying to buy a house or rent a house and you drive past it, and you know those houses that have got like an old sink in the front lawn, and there's a rocking chair and there's all this sort of old furniture, and like the lawn looks like no one's seen it since 1974. You know those, and you go, you know, that's not for me. It hasn't got curb appeal. So your thesis also has to present what it's doing well. Give it curb appeal. Do not write it in a hurry. Do not underestimate its importance. I see students write 100,000 great words, throw together an abstract, and they wonder why they've got a C, they've got a major corrections, when actually the thesis easily should have been a B, but the abstract, the examiner started with, oh, this is reasonable, it's not great, and they carried that all the way through. Okay, so make sure every single word, every single sentence, every single paragraph is fantastic. It is the most important writing in your PhD. 8. Oh yeah, we're getting crunchy now. The abstract, 8. The abstract is a very, very specific genre. The literature describes the abstract in lots of different ways. It is described as a summary, a summative description, a prologue, a preamble, a preface, and also, bizarrely, an introduction. All those words are used. And an abstract contains elements or attributes of those words, but it's not a synonym. They're not a synonym. Instead, the prologue frames, it shapes, yes, it introduces, but it also welcomes the examiner. But remember, and this is the crucial bit of the story, you need to present the ending. Your abstract presents the outcome. It presents the results of your research. And that's why I always warn students when they state that an abstract is a summary. It's actually not a summary. Because if you go, oh, look, it's a summary of what I did. No. It starts with your original contribution to knowledge. Not all the stuff. It starts with, what have you done here? Why does it matter? It's not a summary. So put another way, do not tell readers what you did. Tell them what you discovered. Don't tell them what you did. Tell them what you discovered. That's the deal. And over half of the abstract must present the results. 9. The tone of the abstract matters, because the tone establishes the expectations of the examiner. So tone does matter. And this is where there's so much subjectivity about what an abstract looks like. But let's just deal with what just about everybody agrees on. What's the tone of an abstract? Well, it must be cool in writing. It must be clear and clean writing. Use short sentences. Most importantly, do not repeat the title of the thesis in the abstract. They got the title, they know what's going on. Tell us why it matters. And also, do not use references in an abstract. Again, I've seen that creep in the last few years. Don't refer out of itself. The abstract is self-standing. 10. Okay, I'm here. Bruce, I'm scared. Bruce, I'm scared. 10. The length of the abstract. This is the controversial bit of the vlog, and the advice that we have on the length of an abstract is just bonkers. So I've done a good content analysis and see what most people agree with. And as I said, I have seen a report that goes it meant to be 50 words. I've seen a report that says it has to be 5,000 words. Are you kidding me? Okay. So the literature agrees. Normative parameters, remember, that an abstract for a PhD and a research master's is between 500 and 1,000 words. 2 to 4 pages. 2 to 4 pages, 500 to 1,000 words. I'm quite comfortable. That's the normative frame. Now, almost all of the abstracts I read are of that length. That's what I tell my students to do. That's what I look for as an examiner. In terms of proportionality, so if you don't want a finite word limit, you want proportionality, the first paragraph outlines the research questions, what's going on, why now. Then you talk about your original contribution to knowledge, and then the remainder of the abstract talks about your results and your interpretation of the results. So make sure it's results heavy. Make half of it about the outcome. So team, I did it. Let's talk about the majority view. That's the majority view of what a PhD abstract looks like. That's what the literature and the regulations are telling us. It's what I teach my students. It's what I look for when I read PhDs. But as always, find your own way through these recommendations. And Bruce, thank you for everything. You're a dear friend, and Flinders University is very lucky to have you. We wish you all love, light and peace. Tea out.